In solo leveling, Thomas Andre forcefully snaps the Monarch's neck. Leaving the head dangling lifelessly, the Monarch's eyes suddenly shift toward Thomas. In an instant, its neck twists back into place, shocking the Goliath. Quickly grasping Thomas's head, Raken vigorously hurls him around and slams him to the ground. As the Monarch grips Thomas Andre's head, he ravenously apologizes, saying he's starting to feel hungry again. Out of thin air, a burst of magic strikes the Monarch, exploding on impact and sending him flying backward. The Monarch turns, eyes narrowing as he spots the source of the attack, Leonard Neerman. Standing beside the barely conscious Thomas Andre, Leonard firmly declares that he won't let the Monarch do as he pleases. Sensing the Monarch's immense power, Leonard notes that he's getting the chills just by standing in front of it. Thomas Andre then pleads with Leonard, advising him to run away or he'll die. But Leonard argues that he's well aware, yet he's still a hunter after all. Charging his power-ups, Leonard chooses a proud death rather than a meaningless life. As the Monarch slowly steps in his direction, Leonard tries to build courage, repeating to himself that he made the right choice. But as he gets a closer look at the Monarch, he freezes in fear, unable to move, as the Monarch lunges at him, jaws wide, ready to tear him apart. Suddenly, Kaizel bursts in from behind, chomping down on the Monarch midair, shocking Leonard as the two collide and spiral through the sky. However, with a roar of fury, Raken clutches Kaizel's jaws and in a brutal display of power, rips them apart, completely destroying the mighty wyvern. At that moment, Raken turns his gaze toward the Shadow's remnants, only for the Shadow Monarch himself to emerge from them, delivering a brutal axe kick. The blow lands with a crushing force, sending the Beast Monarch hurtling into the ground below. Jinwoo lands beside Leonard and tells him to take Thomas to a safe place. At that moment, Raken recovers from Jinwoo's attack, remarking that he can smell the Shadow Monarch on him. He calls him human, as he fully transforms into his beast form. Leonard shouts at Jinwoo, assuring him not to worry about them. However, Jinwoo remains calm, noting that the beast's killing intent is quite intense. And on top of that, he isn't the only one. The Beast Monarch then asks, how did a human like you elevate the power of a monarch to this extent? At that moment, Jinwoo notices another figure. Emerging from the ground, the Goth Monarch guesses that it means she can eat the human corpse, adding that she had always been curious about what another monarch would taste like. Remaining focused, Jinwoo receives a system notification identifying the enemies. The King of the Icemen, the Frost Monarch. The King of Beasts, the Beast Monarch. And the Queen of Insects, the Plague Monarch. All have recognized Jinwoo as their enemy. Surrounded by the Monarchs, their auras clash, lighting up the sky. Jinwoo commands, "Come forth." In an instant, his shadow expands across the battlefield as his army of shadows rises to join the fight. The battle begins with Igras and Iron engaging the Frost Monarch, while Jima and Tank charge at the Beast Monarch. At the same time, Greed and Beru rush toward the Plague Monarch. The Beast Monarch asks if this is the new Shadow Army. Meanwhile, the Frost Monarch takes a deep breath and unleashes a powerful burst of ice magic. Jinwoo manages to block the attack, but many of his soldiers are caught in the blast and instantly frozen. As the Frost Monarch freezes half of Jinwoo's army, he notes that despite their numbers, they are nothing but small fries, unable to take even a single step inside his prison. Looking at Beru, the Plague Monarch coldly remarks that Jinwoo should have left her children alone, since it had been a while since she had last seen them after all. The Frost Monarch finds it ridiculous that Jinwoo would try to use those kinds of soldiers to stand in their way, claiming that it is an act of belittling the other monarchs. On top of that, he doubts that the human has even fully absorbed the Shadow Monarch's power, reminding them all that although the Shadow Monarch was the greatest among them, they must not underestimate the strength of the others. Jinwoo doesn't flinch and shatters the ice binding his hand. Locking eyes with the Frost Monarch, Jinwoo flips his dagger in hand and points it forward, declaring with certainty that he will definitely kill at least the Frost Monarch. This provokes the Frost Monarch, who calls out to Jinwoo as he summons massive ice golems. At the same time, the Plague Monarch asks to join the fun, raising an army of zombies to swarm the battlefield. As the zombies jump at him, Jinwoo effortlessly slashes through them. His expression darkens as he curses the Plague Monarch, realizing with disgust that she is using the corpses of fallen hunters. At that moment, he notices an ice golem's foot attempting to crush him. He quickly evades it, and beheads it with a single strike. As Jinwoo lands cleanly, two more ice golems prepare to attack. Locking in, he bursts forward, slices through them, and continues straight toward the Frost Monarch. Jinwoo's eyes burn with killing intent, sending a wave of unease through the Frost Monarch. Suddenly, the Beast Monarch appears, attacking Jinwoo with his claws, but Jinwoo dodges. Breaking the ground, exchanging attacks, the Beast Monarch mocks Jinwoo, questioning whether he really thinks a scrap metal could damage him. Slicing the Monarch's arm clean off, Jinwoo admits that he certainly couldn't have, if it had been just any other piece of metal. Jinwoo notices a massive arm attack coming from above and quickly evades it. Flying overhead, the Goth Monarch hovers with her 5 magical hands swirling around her. Meanwhile, the Beast Monarch recovers his severed arm. Jinwoo takes a deep breath, glancing around, now faced with all 3 monarchs standing before him. As the 3 monarchs stand before Jinwoo, an iceberg shatters, and a shadowy hand emerges from within. Jinwoo looks in that direction as Beru breaks free from the ice binding him, calling out to his liege. With rage boiling inside him, Beru dashes forward, cursing the Goth Monarch for daring to lay her hands on his king. On the other side, the Frost Monarch is left stunned, questioning how a mere shadow soldier could break out of his binding spell, and how a commander-level entity could possibly be under the control of a single human. Meanwhile, Rakan casually remarks that a single commander-level shadow soldier is practically an incarnation of destruction. In response, the Plague Monarch launches one of her magical hands, declaring that a child who doesn't recognize their mother deserves to be punished. As her attack closes in on the Ant King, Beru slashes it down with precision and calls her a crazy bitch. Hearing those words, Plague Monarch is pissed by Beru's insult. Landing in front of his liege, Beru takes a moment to admire how Jinwoo isn't being pushed back, even when facing beings of a superior species. As expected of his king, Beru had never once ceased to be amazed by Jinwoo's limitless strength. At that moment, zombies attack from behind, but the duo swiftly cut it down. Suddenly, the Goth Monarch unleashes a sneak attack, ripping through Beru and sending Jinwoo crashing into the rubble below. As Jinwoo recovers from the debris, he's instantly confronted by hundreds of ice spears raining down from the sky, each impact exploding into sharp bursts of ice crystals. Without hesitation, he parries them all with blinding speed, his glare locked on the Frost Monarch. Mocking him, the Frost Monarch questions how much longer can you endure our barrage. But before he can say another word, one of Jinwoo's daggers pierces straight through his heart. Jinwoo coldly reminds that he won't be getting out of here alive. The Frost Monarch was furious that a human like Jinwoo would dare to say such a thing to a monarch like himself. At that moment, Jinwoo pondered that the Frost Monarch was hit in the heart, guessing that attacking vital points isn't enough to be fatal for them. As Jinwoo dashed towards the Frost Monarch, hurling the weapon straight at the monarch with deadly precision. However, the Frost Monarch smirked as the Beast Monarch appeared behind Jinwoo. Reaching into his inventory and drawing a blade, he slashed Jinwoo's back, forcing him to cough up blood from the sudden blow. Seeing this, Beru shrieked, worriedly calling out for his liege. At that moment, the Goth Monarch appeared behind him, introducing herself as Quarisha, the Monarch of Plagues. She claimed to be the mother of every insect in existence. Clutching her hands on Beru, who struggled against her, she remarked that even though he was an ungrateful insect who didn't recognize his mother, she would still embrace him as one of her children. At the same time, the Beast Monarch stood before Jinwoo, pointing his blade toward him, declaring that this was the end for him. In distress, Beru angrily screamed at the other shadow soldiers, urging them to hurry up and assist their lord. Frozen in the ice, Greed slowly muttered that he would be the one. Then, shattering the ice, he continued, declaring that he would be the one cutting the last breath of the enemies. Noticing Greed, the Beast Monarch remarked that he must have been a stronger warrior in his past life, while the Frost Monarch observed that the higher-ranking shadow soldiers had started to appear as Ygras, Iron, and Tusk completely burst out from their ice prison. Approaching Jinwoo, the Frost Monarch told him that his wound is fatal and fun is over. However, Jinwoo stood back on his feet, asking if the monarch was referring to his wounds. Suddenly, their eyes widened in shock as they saw Jinwoo use limitless recovery, healing the fatal wounds on his back as he stood tall. People from New York, London, Shanghai, and Paris watched in stunned silence as chaos unfolded in Korea. Watching the battle, Leonard Neerman noted in horror that it was almost as if a storm were raging around Hunter Sung Jinwoo. Thomas, lying on the ground, asked what was happening. Leonard replied that it felt like he was witnessing the end of the world. On the other side of the battlefield, Baek looked on, questioning if this was truly the Sung Jinwoo he knew. Admitting Jinwoo was a hunter who could grow, but Baek wondered just how much stronger he had become in such a short amount of time. Shifting the scene back to the battlefield, Eagers and Iron clashed fiercely with the Beast Monarch, while Tusk and Greed confronted the Frost Monarch. At the same time, Beru slashed through the Plague Monarch's hand, breaking free from her grasp. Enraged, Querisha pursued Beru. Suddenly, Jinwoo appeared behind her, recalling how the Creator once told him a prophecy, that he would die from the pillar of flames that holds up the world. But he hadn't told him whether that pillar would actually fall or not. Jinwoo continued, his eyes locked on Querisha. Slicing through with a crosscut, Jinwoo cut through the Monarch of Plague's face in one swift. Meanwhile, standing on top of a building, Lim Tae-gyu remarked to himself that he had been standing by for a long time to snipe, but now he didn't think this was a fight he could interfere with. Seeing the wrecked city, Lim Tae-gyu noted that for the past 30 minutes, the elite assassins of the Fiend Guild had been dispatched across the buildings in the area. And once they received the signal, they would pour their support fire toward the enemy like a heavy storm, hoping to inflict lethal damage. But if that happened, he questioned just how many of them would actually survive. He knew they would still die, whether they failed or succeeded at sniping. Since their opponent was a monster not even Thomas Andre could subdue, and urged himself that it was about time they started making decisions. Suddenly, a hand grabbed his shoulder. A mysterious man with an immense aura told him to just sit back and watch, sending chills down his spine. Terrified, he jumped back, aiming his arrows in the man's direction, only for his eyes to widen in shock upon seeing the mysterious figure. Hunters had gathered for the magical beast subjugation and evacuation, but not a single one of them could interfere with the ongoing fight. And they were merely waiting for everything to conclude, silently observing the final moments of a battle that seemed close to its end. Grunting, the Goth Monarch reassembled her body and ejected a fluid all over Jinwoo. As Jinwoo was showered by the strange substance, he realized it was poison. The system informed him that venom effects were still present in the atmosphere. He turned his gaze back to the Plague Monarch, unfazed, as the system notified him that a buff was active and detoxification had begun. Within 3 seconds, detoxification was completed successfully. Enraged by this, Querisha charged toward Jinwoo, declaring her intent to rip him apart. However, she froze in place as Jinwoo raised his hand and activated his ruler's authority. Overwhelmed by its power, the Plague Monarch struggled, only to realize she couldn't escape its grip. Suddenly, her eyes widened as Jinwoo appeared in front of her, activating his skill mutilation. In an instant, a series of rapid chain slashes cut through her body, reducing her to minced flesh. As she faded away, the monarch reflected that this must have been death, a heavy darkness that humbled even beings like them who were born from darkness. In her final moments, she admired the brilliance of that darkness before she was completely erased. Just then, a system notification followed, announcing that Jinwoo had defeated Querisha, the Monarch of Plagues and one of the 9 Monarchs, and that he had leveled up threefold. Meanwhile, the Frost Monarch stood frozen in disbelief upon witnessing Querisha's defeat, believing that Jinwoo wasn't supposed to be able to use the Shadow Monarch's power to its full extent. And he feared that they might once again experience the terror they once felt toward one of the most powerful monarchs to have ever ruled the universe. But the Beast Monarch, unfazed, tried to calm him, pointing out that Jinwoo is exhausted. Gripping Beru's neck, the Beast Monarch added that Jinwoo's reliance on weak soldiers proved he was still incomplete, and that an incomplete monarch could never stand against true monarchs. As his grip tightened, Jinwoo sensed Beru's presence fading, wondering if the Beast Monarch had erased the Shadow Soldier just as he might have done to the one placed on Thomas Andre. Panicking, Jinwoo attempted to cancel Beru's summon, but was shocked when the system notified him that the selected soldiers cannot be called. Jinwoo was shocked as he couldn't summon Beru back. At that moment, the Beast Monarch glanced over, gripping Beru by the neck, only to dodge Jinwoo's incoming slash. Managing to save Beru in the nick of time, Jinwoo was relieved that he had managed to prevent Beru from being extinguished. Meanwhile, the Frost Monarch agrees with the Beast Monarch as a cold mist slowly appears, summoning ice spikes almost reaching the heavens. Wielding a trident with a cold breath, he remarks that Jinwoo seems overly confident in his powers, which don't have an owner, noting that even if Jinwoo uses his powers in controlling puppets like these, they will simply need to cut the strings so Jinwoo can't control them anymore, declaring that he will trap the puppets under his authority and make them go through healing and resurrection over and over again. He tells that Jinwoo's soldiers will be nothing but parasites that eat away at his mana. Suddenly, the Frost Monarch swings at Jinwoo, questioning him what he will do. Jinwoo was sent back as he tried to block the Monarch's powerful strike, but the trident managed to pierce his shoulder, making Jinwoo grunt. Raising his rod, the Monarch lifted Jinwoo up over his shoulder, slamming him forcefully into the ground. But as the dust settled, he noticed that Jinwoo was not there. Suddenly Jinwoo reappears, thrusting at the Monarch with his dagger. Monarch quickly dodges him and retaliates, hitting Jinwoo in the stomach with his trident, making him spit blood as he was sent flying by the impact. Landing back on his feet, Jinwoo breathes heavily as he remarks that the Frost Monarch was fast. The Monarch then tells Jinwoo that his stealth skill must have a heavy mana consumption, guaranteeing that he will put an end to their fight quickly. Jinwoo watches as the Frost Monarch rush toward him, and the two immerse in exchanging heavy blows. As they continue exchanging blows, Jinwoo ponders about the Monarch's movement, sight, breathing, muscle, and mana flow. He can see them. If only he can be faster than him by just a little bit. Looking at Jinwoo, the Frost Monarch tells him that he doesn't know what he's plotting, remarking that it's no use as he summons a scythe and dual-wieldedly launches an ice slash. However, Jinwoo blitzes behind him, preparing to attack as he thinks he got him. But the Frost Monarch smirks as Jinwoo is hit by uncanny feelings. The spectating hunters, along with Baek Yoonho and Leonard Nerman, were horrified as they watched Jinwoo being pierced in the chest by the Beast Monarch's sneak attack. Feet trapped by ice, Jinwoo's blood dripped onto the floor as the Beast Monarch's claw pierced through him. Standing behind Jinwoo, claiming that Jinwoo was nothing without the speed he was so confident in, Jinwoo spewed blood intensely from both his eyes and mouth as the system displayed his current status. Dropping his dagger, he clenched the claws that had pierced him, thinking that his level had increased, so this much was nothing. Suddenly, the Monarch of Frost stabbed Jinwoo, saying that he would now return his weapon, urging Jinwoo to heal himself like he did back then. As Jinwoo's blood began to crystallize, the Monarch continued, expressing doubt that Jinwoo would be able to, because no matter how strong he was still not a complete Monarch. He then stepped closer, asking if this was as far as he could go as a human, saying that if it was, then Jinwoo would not be able to witness the moment their armies set foot in this world. And when that happens, there would be a mountain of human corpses, and their blood would form endless rivers. But this country where Jinwoo grew up would be different. He remarked that he would personally freeze every single human in this country and make them suffer through eternal agony. They would be forced to live through an eternity, unable to die, yet unable to truly live. The Frost Monarch then told Jinwoo to show him his endless contempt within his death, as the two would become part of his joy. At that moment, Jinwoo's face began to freeze as he thought to himself just a little more, believing he could still make it out alive. Unfortunately, the system notified him that his HP had reached 0 and that the player had died. However, the system panel suddenly became distorted, and a new message appeared. The player possesses the Black Heart, and that he had now met all the requirements for the passive skill, Unknown. Up until now, the player was unable to use this skill. The system then stated, Passive skill, Unknown has been activated. The passive skill recorded in the system began to glow, brighter and brighter, until it looked as if someone had thrown a stun grenade. As the golden light engulfed the entire skill window, Jinwoo wakes up abruptly, his eyes widening.